welcome back to my so-called Xennial life. Now, one of the things I wanted to do for this new series is like a top five countdown of various pop culture or events from the 80s and 90s and early 2000s and stuff. So I thought, even though Halloween is over, I thought I'd start with the top five slasher films of the 1980s that is not part of the big three. Now, what you might be asking, what do we mean by the big three? I'm sure most of you know what I'm talking about, which means in this list there will be no Halloween, A Nightmare on Elm Street, or Friday the 13th. They're such classics that they're are part of their own sort of like a countdown. And by the way, with Halloween, I know the first one was made in 78, but several others, 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe 6, I'm not sure when 6 came out, all came out in the 80s, so technically that would count. So, but I wanted to show like sort of like the 80s were like the slasher golden age. So many of them came out. Some of them were really good and some of them, well, were not. But they were also, even the ones that were kind of like corny and cheesy were like very appealing in their own way. Like some like Slumber Party Massacre and stuff like that. That stuff was just like really bad, but it's like really fun to watch. And that was a time when you can definitely say they were a bit sexist, but we don't need to talk about that. But because let's face it, if it's an 80s slasher film, it's definitely going to be sexist and probably a little bit racist too. That's just the way it was. Not condoning it, condemning it, or anything. It's just the way it was. So you have to view it as a different thing. Is that this stuff is just meant to be mindless fun. So I want to do a top 5 countdown. There'll be other top 5 countdowns in the future. Again, I'm releasing these episodes kind of relatively quick instead of just like taking my time like I planned to. And I thought this will be interesting to start with slasher films. Gotta kill. I mean, like I said, miss Halloween, but hey, whatever. So let's begin with the countdown off to
Sleepaway Camp.
Well, Sleepaway Camp, what an interesting film. Released back in 1983. This little, kind of little corny, cheesy slasher film features a girl named Angela and her cousin Ricky going off to summer camp. And as Angela gets picked on, a bunch of people kids and workers and counselors get killed. Yes, I agree. Sounds very much like Friday the 13th, but the movie is actually known for its twist ending, in which Angela is revealed to be a boy. So yes, as I mentioned before earlier, with these films being kind of problematic, yeah, that's nowadays that wouldn't fly, but we are talking the 80s. Personally, I don't view it as being transphobic or homophobic. Actually, I think it's reverse. I think, in the context of a slasher film, it does kind of showcase the sort of destructive behavior of forced gender roles and and society's intolerance towards like gays and stuff like that can lead people down pathways that may not be so good. Now, granted, I am a type of person that can, analyze a movie to death, but in reality it's just that's how I view the ending. And overall, the film is a fun 80s slasher with some creative kills and some good characters and interesting characters, so which is why it's my number 5.
Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Released back in 1984, Silent Night, Deadly Night is a film about a guy who dresses up as Santa Claus and kills people for being naughty. This movie suffered from cancel culture before cancel culture even really had a term for it. It was pulled from the theater because parents didn't like the concept. Apparently it was frightening kids and everything like that. So, but overall, this is a fun, very, very sleazy slasher film. There's a lot of nudity. You're gonna see a lot of boobs that are probably not there for artistic reasons. I have that feeling. And there's some fun kills in it, including spoiler. There's a woman gets impaled on a reindeer head. I did think that the movie, while not a masterpiece, did do good in relating the fact of why this person kills. It does deal with the sort of trauma he faced when he was younger, and sort of the abuse from nuns when he was sent to an orphanage. So, so remember this Christmas, instead of watching, the classics like Miracle on 34th Street or It's a Wonderful Life, put on this movie and watch a bunch of people be killed for the holidays. I think that sounds a lot more fun.
My Bloody Valentine.
Now that we're done with Christmas, we can go off to Valentine's in this 1981 Canadian film. My Bloody Valentines is about these people in a coal mining town being killed off by a man dressed in kind of like coal mining gear and carrying a pickaxe, killing people on Valentine's Day. This movie only recently got released with all the gore intact. For the longest time, it was heavily censored, which was kind of common for some slasher movies back in the 80s, including Friday the 13th Part 2 and, The Burning and stuff like that. And only recently did they actually find the footage, and while the footage ain't great, it's still highly recommended. One thing that makes this movie stand out compared to most other slasher films is that most slasher movies, the victims are usually horny teenagers. They think, they have sex and do drugs and drink, and therefore they have to die. In this one, they're actually blue-collared, slightly older, like I would say late 20s, early 30s, and pretty normal people. They all work. They're all working in the mine. I mean, they still do the naughty stuff that allows them to be killed. Have sex, do drugs. As you do. Because those killers. Anytime anybody's having fun, they just have to die. So they did do a remake. The remake wasn't bad. Didn't hate it. I think the original is better with its music, its filming location, its characters, its gore is a lot better back in 1981 compared to the modern one. But I recommend this as one of my favorites, and I even have the uncut version on DVD.
The Burning.
Well, back in 1981 was the release of The Burning, another Friday the 13th-ish kind of film in which it takes place on a campground. The Burning is based on an urban legend, from what I understand, from, I want to say upper state New York, about a guy who gets burned by a bunch of bastard kids, and so he comes back to the camp and does what people when they want revenge, killing people who had absolutely nothing to do with it, in very gruesome ways. This movie is a cult classic. It too was censored. A lot of the gore was taken out, but many of the new DVD releases, the gore is taken in. The gore was done by Tom Savini, so it's pretty good stuff. The Raft Massacre is definitely one of my favorite scenes. And the movie overall is pretty good. The characters, even the jerks, are relatively likable. Some of the there's one character particularly who's kind of a little creep, but everybody else is relatively likable. The music is pretty good. Again, the gore is definitely there, but the movie's also famous for actually having some well-known actors in it, including Jason Alexander, Holly Hunter, and Fisher Stevens, who, I know him from Short Circuit, so that's why I'm kind of making it a big deal. Should be interesting to note that Harvey and the Weinstein brothers actually helped work on this movie, which makes some of the scenes a little bit creepier, which makes me wonder if Harvey Weinstein was basing the creepy, nerdy guy who was spying on girls taking showers after himself. But other than that, the movie is an enjoyable Friday the 13th rip-off slasher. That's why it's my number 2.
Just Before Dawn.
Well, it seems like 1981 has been very good for slasher films because we're going to 1981 again with this unknown film, Just Before Dawn, which is my number one pick. It is kind of a typical tale of a bunch of young people going camping in the woods, except they're not going to like a campground, they're just going into the woods. And they come across a family of incest hillbillies who decides that, well, what way to show hospitality is by killing them. This movie is actually very atmospheric. It has really good music. It has good cinematography. That's what makes it so good. It really does build up the tense. While some of the other films I kind of mentioned are a little cheesy and they're just more of the gore and the fun factor. This movie, I would say, Just Before Dawn is like legitly a scary slasher film. It's suspenseful. Again, the music. And the killers are kind of creepy. There's one that kind of has like this sort of kind of like a raspy breathing thing going on, and it's kind of creepy. It ain't the goriest of the bunch that I've chosen on this list, but it's still enjoyable with some interesting kills. But it doesn't seem to be gore. Gore does not seem to be the forerunner. It's all about suspense. It's all about atmosphere. So this is why it's my number one pick. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you think of what is your top 5 slasher film from the 80s. Write them down in the comment below if you so inclined. I hope you all like my choices. Many of these I have on DVD. The only one I don't have on DVD is Sleepaway Camp, which one day I'll get. So anyway, if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and hopefully you'll continue watching and we can get to episode 4 real soon. I'm enjoying this a lot, and I hope you're all enjoying it too. So have a great day. Bye.